more do we know, David, about this potential easing?
Hey, well, as you say, we reported yesterday that China's sort of top economic planning body, the NDRC, it gathered together some of the industry for a meeting on Tuesday and discussed plans to ease what's been a sort of more than 2-year ban, an informal ban, but a ban nonetheless on imports of Australian coal. China previously had been a huge consumer of the fossil fuel from Australia, but souring relations meant that those cargoes were almost immediately stopped in around October of 2020 through various sort of diplomatic disputes. What we know, what we've reported, is that since about July last year, Chinese authorities have been studying ways of easing those restrictions, of sort of finding a path out of that scenario, driven by energy security, but also particularly since the sort of back end of last year, by improving relations between Australia and China. Those were capped by the visit of Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong. She was in Beijing in December, the first face-to-face talks in years, and I think what we're seeing now is a real indication of the sort of goodwill that's flown from that.
David, I mean, how much is down to diplomacy? How much of it is down to indigenous energy shortages? And if we actually look at the profile of coal exports out of Australia, they've not really moved that much in the last 5 years. They've been pretty much stable, in fact, strong.
True. All those things absolutely true, Rich. In terms of the rationale, China's primary concern here is energy security. Think back to 2020. Think back to the last couple of years. We've seen issues where there have been power outages. So yes, while China's building this enormous clean energy system, it is also continuing to secure enough fossil fuel supply, coal and gas. It's had its domestic mines running at full pelt, but it still wants to import more. So there will potentially be a market there for Australian coal. However, as you say, Australia, it's found willing markets outside of China amid the sort of global energy crunch. From Europe to the rest of Asia, there has been no shortage of takers for those Australian coal shipments. I guess the question now the market's looking at is, what does the Chinese re-entry for Australian coal mean? Will it push prices higher? Will there be more competition for those cargoes? And I think that's what we're going to see play out in the next sort of weeks and certainly months.